Hello my friends, in a new episode of True Horror. In this video, we will watch the ugliest and strangest methods of psychological torture in the world. Strange torture methods have been invented that you may think are simple, but while trying them you almost lose your mind or go crazy through them. These methods are a form of punishment and discipline. Therefore, what are the strangest methods of psychological torture in the world? 7. Torture with music, is it possible? You must be thinking that this method might be fun for the prisoners, but it is the opposite, my friend, because music can turn ugly when it is imposed on a person, and this method helps the police to admit the detainees to the evidence and give their statements immediately. The prisoner is isolated in a cold and dark room, with very loud music playing, which makes a person almost lose his mind and hearing. This music is repeated about 100 times without stopping, which leads to changes in the brain, hallucinations, fear, and confusion in the prisoner, and an increase in his feelings of anger. No matter how much he tries to express his fear by screaming, no one can hear him, because the music is loud and the room is dark, and it is played about 17 hours a day. Can you imagine the extent of the torment that results from this method? It is believed that this idea occurred to some people after World War II, when the sounds of planes were frightening in the air and aroused terror and tension. 6. Torture with water drops, it is one of the most dangerous types of psychological torture. The prisoner is isolated in a dark place, then a bucket filled with water is placed and the drops begin to fall to one place on his forehead. It may seem simple to you, but this movement depends on more than 20 hours a day. The prisoner feels panic, calm, nervous pressure, and a headache. This method was invented in China with the aim of torturing prisoners and obtaining their confessions quickly. 5. White torture, it is a brutal and violent method. The detainee becomes mad and afraid through it. He is placed in a small cell that contains only white color, and there is a bed and chair in white color. Everything around the detainee is in this color only, even his clothes and food, which is served to him, whether rice or yogurt. The prisoner loses his ability to feel anything, and does not remember any color other than white, which causes him a nervous and psychological breakdown, and he cannot talk to anyone, because he is isolated alone and there is no sound next to him other than the sound of his breathing. 4. Torture through sleep deprivation, in this method, the prisoner can only get a small amount of sleep, which is only about 1 hour a day. This method will certainly not last for a long time, because a person cannot live without rest and sleep. Therefore, the detainee is placed in a cold room alone, and if one of the guards notices that he is about to sleep, he throws water on him or begins psychological and physical intimidation on him so that he is unable to sleep, which affects him and causes him depression, fear, drowsiness, exhaustion, tension, and psychological pressure. 3. Tickle torture, tickling invites laughter, and is used only for the purpose of joking with your friend or brother, but what if a person is tickled for hours on end? He will inevitably lose his mind, and suffer a bout of laughter that cannot be stopped, which will lead to him losing the ability to breathe or rest. This method was used in ancient centuries, where the sensory parts of the body were targeted, such as the armpits, the soles of the feet, the neck, and the stomach. They are spread with a little sugar and a goat is brought into the detainee's room to lick it after the victim's body is tied. 2. Torture with a bag, it is one of the least used methods, but it was used in ancient Rome, and to this point some people may use it in prisons because it is a psychological and physical torture tool and a person loses his life through it. Where a large black bag with a small animal inside is placed with the victim, can you imagine the extent of the torment and psychological oppression that the prisoner faces in this case? 1. Cold torture, no person will be able to withstand this method, no matter how much his body is able to withstand the cold. The detainee is placed in a small, dark cell, and the prison guard begins throwing ice water on the victim's body, and then blows air from the air conditioner or electric fan on him for long hours, which leads to his injury. Exhaustion, psychological torment, and spontaneous confession. Injuring the prisoner and putting pressure on him. In this method, the prisoner is brutally beaten, and then the guard applies insane pressure on the place of his injury until the detainee almost loses his mind from the pain and screaming. He is not treated unless he decides to confess, and even if he is not guilty, he will confess to things he never did it in his life. Unfortunately, by watching the video alone, a person will fall into a deplorable psychological state. There is no one capable of enduring this psychological and physical torture. Therefore, we pray to God to protect us and our families from these painful methods that have been used throughout history in several places in the world, and are still being used. Until this moment it is used to intimidate and humiliate. Before we finish, do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell to receive the most important video events. See you.